everybody who's here and on the stream. This is a really impromptu, sudden TOR Hangout because something little happened today. Very little. The NDA dropped, and we were all like, what? The NDA dropped? We can talk. Oh, look here. That's right. And so what we're going to do is, first thing I want to do is, usually when we do the TOR Hangout, I remind everybody at the beginning to not break NDA. Well, we don't have to do that anymore. But what I do want to do is try to warn everybody not to do any story spoilers. As excited we are to talk about the game, let's please not spoil the story for folks and try to just do what we can to keep everybody around there. We still have some audio issues. I'm not sure who. Okay, we're getting better. But we've got a lot of questions, and if you've got a question about the game, how many in the Hangout have been in beta? Raise your hand so you can see you on the little monitors. So you've got some veteran and some few beta people here that have played the game, and we're ready to talk about the game and answer questions and have a really good time. So let's go ahead and get started with the introductions really quickly. We're going to do this quick. We'll start on the left. Andy.
Why am I always the one farthest up?
You're always on the left.
Andy Scott. I don't know. My name's Andy Scott. My experience in the beta was the previous stress weekend. I guess it was stress. So I'm not a Monday through Friday player. I got one weekend in, and I'm excited to share those experiences tonight.
Okay. Yeah, Kyle, it's still your mic. That's coming through pretty heavy. All right, Anthony Russo. We have no audio from Anthony.
No? Oh, okay.
There you
got me?
Got you now.
Okay, great. Yeah. I am new to the guild, so just getting to meet everybody in. And me and Olivia joined in yesterday. Had a mic on Google Plus to find it. The guild that we were on was very similar, except they suddenly decided to go on an RP PvP server, which we did not want to join on. So glad I found you guys.
All right. And Brad.
Hi, I'm Brad, another member of Redeem. I played beta weekend about a month ago. So just want to, talk some non-NDA breaking any more info there.
All right, Don, introduce yourself.
Hey guys, I was here a couple weeks ago, I guess. Down with a horrible flu, that's why I sound like crap, and kind of laying here with a hot rum. So anyway, last time I was here, I was in the Katazi, and now I just joined the Redeemed, so I'm a bit of a turncoat. And I'm looking forward to seeing you guys in the next beta.
All right.
And also, yeah, hey guys, and also, to talk about this new Flashpoint that just got announced. And I guess that's about it.
Wonderful.
Hey everyone, Gary Rogers. I've been a beta tester since
a while.
September or so. One of the regular beta testers, not just the beta tester weekend thing. I've actually stopped playing TOR until this weekend when NDA drops. But been playing that fairly, for a month or so. And member Redeemed, hopefully leader of Bravo Squad once we start going hard and heavy.
And for the record, we did not mean to stack the odds with all Redeemed members. They're not all Redeemed members, but Redeemed is pretty much made up of 90% Google Plusers, so that's kind of how it works out. So, all right, JJ, you're next.
Hi, I'm JJ. I just did the beta weekend last weekend, and I had a really good time, but I realized that my learning curve is very slow, and I leveled really slow. So hopefully I can be some inspiration to any new people who've never played an MMO coming out, because for me it was just like learning another MMO all over again. I'm really slow. That's it.
All right, Keely.
Alright, I'm Keely. I also just got this past weekend beta, and was able to spend one day playing it because I was sick most of the weekend, of course, the weekend I get beta. But I didn't get super far, but hopefully I can input some stuff. If not, still can do it.
Okay.
And this is Kyle Maxwell. Am I still saying it okay?
Yeah, it sounds like your mic boost keeps kicking in.
Go ahead. Anyway, I've been a beta tester for about a little over 3 months now. I'm beta testing right now, and I'm looking forward to finally being able to spill the beans.
Awesome. All right, who are you?
I'm Lewis. I'm also a member of Redeemed.
Darth Lewis.
I am the one that causes trouble. I'm also, with a capital B, Beard.
Beard.
So I snuck in Darth Beard. I snuck in on last week's. I wasn't actually invited, but we'll many Bothans were killed to give me the information that I have. And so I'm really looking forward to it. I was kind of coming in from it from a lore perspective, so I was really enjoying kind of getting my head around the architecture of the game environment, which we will be playing. So.
Oh my word. Okay, I'm Mike. Sorry, I just saw something on Twitter. I'm not going to talk about it right now, but okay, I'm Mike. I am the GM of Redeemed. I'm also the one who was silly enough to put together these Google Plus Hangouts and thought it was really fun. This morning when I was trying to read Revan, all of a sudden the news broke out about the NDA be lifted. I said, we got to go live tonight and talk about all this stuff. So here we are. Lots of things to talk about, and I know some folks that are going to be upset about a link I just saw. Okay, well, we're going to ignore the link I just saw because I don't want to put that out there yet. But let's go ahead and get started with some of the questions and things that people have been chomping at. As we've been doing these Hangouts, one of the toughest things for us has been not to violate the NDA because many of us, I've been in beta, I think, 4 builds, and so I've got to see the game progress quite well. And as some know that have watched the Hangouts, that originally I was not really banking on SWTOR until I got into the beta and saw it, and then I fell absolutely in love with it. One of the things we want to go over first is the new legacy system. Today was like this massive amount of news day. Stephen retweeted yesterday before he got on the plane, I guess, to come back to the United States, that it was going to be a big news release day. And it's like, okay, it's going to be a big day, but then when the morning started out, we got a live feed from Massively where Larry was streaming some stuff, and everybody's going, what the heck's going on? How come? And then Darth Vader started streaming, and we're all, what's happening? And we're thinking, is this the big news? And then it started just rolling in. What all did you guys see happening first before we start talking about the game that got your attention this morning or afternoon, wherever you were?
I saw myself trying to cover my screen at work while I was peeking at things, what's going on. I couldn't follow too closely because I had other stuff going on, and I was in meetings and stuff. I kept kind of tilting things back and tabbing over and watching the media stream in.
Okay.
All tab is your friend.
Yeah, I mostly, at first I was just looking at the art book and that sort of thing, the regular releases, and wasn't able to watch my buddy Larry play. Larry's an old friend of mine from way before TOR was a gleam in anybody's eye. And so I would have been working all day, and suddenly it's like, hey, the NDA was listed. The what?
Okay. What else? Come on, guys, I need energy.
Well,
Energy.
I guess it was the streaming from Massively that sort of seemed to kick the ball, and I guess Mike's post sort of started, hey, NDA lifted, and then it sort of, fair enough, there it was.
Okay.
Well, my first thought was, I can go back on the Hangouts because I don't have to what I can't say.
Well, that's right. Melissa was in here earlier, and I think she had a connection problem, got bumped. But that was the thing. Melissa was supposed to be in our hangout last week, and she removed herself because after the weekend beta, she didn't want to come on and accidentally talk about stuff because it's been becoming more and more difficult. Okay, so then also after the release of the video, which the video was really cool, and we're going to talk more about that on Monday because we're going to continue to do the Monday one. The video was really cool. Seeing that next zone was awesome and exciting. And then, who was it that dropped the news about the legacy system? Was it James Olin himself?
Yeah.
That was awesome. Now I'll have to tell you, I can tell you this now. I logged into the new build that just hit the servers yesterday, and I'm looking at. I hit my skill tree button, and all of a sudden I noticed a little tab down at the bottom that said Legacy, and I'm like, what the heck is this? I didn't actually have an idea what it was until today. What do you guys think about the new Legacy system, and can anybody explain it to the best of what we know so far?
Well, basically what's going to happen is once you complete Chapter 1 with one of your characters, you'll get to pick a surname that will follow all of your tunes on.
Gary broke up.
We'll assume all of the server, and then all of your tunes are blank Skywalker if you want to be that way. You can change that. You can either there's two different ways you can do it. It can be like blank Skywalker or blank Legacy of Skywalker, or just take it out and just have the first name.
So a couple of quick additions to that. It's definitely confirmed to be only on the same server.
Okay.
And can you are you sure? I'm not, but for sure you can choose not to display the surname. Is that right?
Yeah,
Correct.
I actually saw that in the client.
Yeah, I did too. The options have that.
I'm not too keen on it. Well, I think it's great to have a last name. What I'd not, the only thing I don't like is, from a role-playing standpoint, my Imperial agent's going to be a Chiss and a Piss or whatever you call it, and their last names are very specific. I would like to have that sort of last name, and if I was rolling a human, that name wouldn't go with it. If I was rolling a human Sith or something, I was always going to do the last name of Het, because my favorite is from Legacy comic series A Shred Het, so I wanted to have that name, but that wouldn't go with other. So that's just me being really picky.
Okay.
But it's still neat to have a last name.
And I think that's a lot of the RPers are wondering, well, it looks like from the fact that we got so far that the name is going to be the same across that whole server, and they kind of want to have different last names for different characters. And so who knows exactly how that's going to work out and what else the rest of the system's going to offer, but I'm kind of excited about it.
I like the idea of what they're trying to come up here with some type of system and showing how things are linking together, but the whole purpose of what they're really pushing forward here is on story, and they really seem to like appealing to the role-playing crowds. So if there's a majority uproar against the role players on this is unfair that you're assigning the same surname to everyone in my character slots, then I don't see that as carrying across. I think they'll figure out some way to switch it around and yet still have the options to do what they're doing without really forcing the hand of the RP community.
Well, but it also goes towards they're trying to present this in a Star Wars continuity kind of thing. So you're going to have the Fets and you're going to have the Solos, and that's kind of the first tune you roll is Jango Fett, and you get tired of running that, and then you run Boba Fett.
Yeah, but doesn't that break continuity when your human has the same last name as your Zabrak? They obviously didn't have the same parents, so
yeah.
I mean, it does.
Well, speaking as a role player, I think it'll just end up, what we know now, instead of something they bolt on later on, so that for now, I can plan my characters, and some characters, when I thought it was just going to be just one name, I was planning for my character just to run by his surname anyway, so now it's kind of throwing all of my plans into disarray as far as that goes, because maybe I can reuse that surname.
Okay.
Well, I think the real thing too is that from a role player's perspective, I'm a role player. The kind of the sticking point would be, okay, maybe I shouldn't use it as a surname, maybe I need to, whatever that name would be, I would have to create it so that it can be kind of a generalized title that I throw on every one of my characters.
Sure, or like a house name or
And so-
something like that.
Right, so you would end up, basically you're re-engineering that process to be something where you can use it and not feel like, okay, I've got this class, this race, this class, this race. Oh, it doesn't make any sense. So if I use something generic that could be kind of a, just whatever, my legacy.
I was always planning on using the Awesome as my surname. So.
Right.
There's gonna be tons of McLovins and all sorts of
McLovin.
crazy.
All right, let's go ahead and.
That's what I'm gonna think.
So that was the cool thing, and I'm sure we'll see more coming out of BioWare as we get closer. This is something none of us testers have seen up to this point. So let's. Didn't want to do that. So what we'll do is we'll just continue to see what happens with that. Now let's
I
go
got a
ahead.
question.
Sure.
Okay, now I joined in with Olivia. We play together. Do we have the same surname? Because it seems like what they really do with surnames is they are pinning, if you got 6 characters on the server, they're all going to have your surname. So it's kind of like a tag of you as the player, so your account has a surname pretty much. And that way, so if I run across Mr. Smith and 3 different people, I know it's all the same guy that's playing them. Now, I'm with Olivia, because we can share a surname, we play together.
I don't know yet myself.
No, for sure, surnames are unique per player per server,
Well, a
or
lot
per
of
account per server.
I get the point, but a lot of people, if you go back in years of World of Warcraft, people met and got married in real life on that game. And there were couples, and they had weddings in the game and stuff like that. If for role play and stuff, if they're really encouraging role playing and story, wouldn't that be something they don't want to, take away? The chance to have that, and that's what they're in essence doing. We couldn't have the same surname, me and my wife.
So
Well,
they're
I
the
think
same
the
frame. Are you
legacy-
perpetuating the patriarchal system that?
I think the legacy system, though, it's kind of really in a situation where, they're just tossing a little crumb out there for people who love a surname, but it's not really how it should be working, because you can't do that.
I think it is.
And so you just throw it out there. And I know, like in WoW, I used to use add-ons that would allow me to
Right.
use whatever name I wanted at the end. This is feeling a lot like the legacy system, and the rewards that could come from that. Completely different from what I'm talking about from an RP perspective about using a surname.
Exactly.
At all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's an
why I think
add-on.
It's mostly going to be
Olivia
about
says
the
she's
legacy
working now.
system. I think it's more about the system itself and what it can evolve into, and all the fine points of you needed the surname. People are worried too much about the surname at this point.
I agree.
think if there is any restrictions, that's going to be very easy to lift those on the surname part of it. It's more about the system itself.
Right. We can't focus in on the fact that this system's going to be a huge thing. It's going to have a lot of things in the future that are going to be added to it. The surname thing becomes the important thing for a lot of folks, because that's been a very hot topic issue on the forums for a while, but it's going to be a bigger system. Go ahead, Keely.
I think that another thing, it kind of encourages the whole re-rolling. For those people who aren't on the RP aspect of it, whatever this legacy reward system or whatever, I'm not quite clear on what that is. I don't even know if they've really released what all that is, but what it's going to encourage is, instead of people being like, well, I've topped out at 50, they're going to go, well, if I re-roll this, then it'll go through my legacy and I can or something like that. So it'll encourage people to continue playing the game, whereas in games like Rift, I got to 50 and I went, huh. There wasn't really that much encouragement for me personally to re-roll another character and go all the way through that again. Whereas if you have some kind of reward, even if you can't be rating or whatnot, you can get something out of it.
Sure.
It also is a nice substitute for that real ID system that Blizzard uses, where it accomplishes a goal of your friends being able to find you across various characters, but without all the nasty real-life implications that Blizzard stepped into. So now if I want everybody to be able to find me easily, I name all those alts with that legacy name. And if I want to have a secret alt that nobody knows it's me, but on the same server, apparently as long as I just don't give them the surname, then that's okay.
Something Keely there mentioned about re-rolling just struck me as an idea on how we talked about earlier this week, Monday. Future releases of the game, expansions, might have all sorts of different new storylines. I just thought with this surname and how they're trying to tie the characters together, imagine running through some of the same areas as before, and NPCs react to you differently because last time someone from your family came in, they treated so and so like dirt, and they talk out, or just subtly mentioned, someone's name as they went through earlier. It would be an interesting twist on how they can tie that into the game story.
Yeah, I don't want to break any spoilers, even though the NDA is lifted, but there are a few hints in the game that something along those lines may be what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's go ahead and move on into some more questions, and we'll try to take these as fast as we can so we're not here all night, but there's a lot of questions that folks have had, and we've had people put them in. We've put them in an agenda here. First thing, let's talk about character creation. How detailed is it? Tag, somebody go.
It is not. I mean, the customization of your character is fairly detailed. It's not as detailed as Rift. It's more detailed than WoW.
Well, that's what I was going to say. A lot of people who say it's not detailed. It's like, dude, this has got more sliders than WoW, but nobody ever complains about WoW anymore. They just say
but it's BioWare. I was expecting a Mass Effect or a Dragon Age. I really want to get creative, and it just wasn't there.
It's got a lot of nice sliders and options. If you're used to like Mass Effect 2, it's not as good. If you're certainly not as good as the Eve character creator. And I don't want to bring up the name that shall not be spoken, but there's a certain other Star Wars MMO that had more detailed character creation than this.
Okay, now, go ahead, somebody. I hear you, Andy.
I was just going to say, I was going to equate it to about rolling Sims 3 character. You have sliders about to that. You can change the way more faces on Sims 3, but
so you're admitting to playing Sims 3?
Oh, heck yeah!
The really sad thing is the character creation is actually worse than Star Trek Online.
Well, now, from a technical standpoint, let me try to give a reasonable explanation to why it is limited but still better than WoW. Is whenever you add a lot of personal details, that will create lag when you get into a multiplayer environment. So in a single-player game, they can afford a lot more customization. But once you start meeting, if you're in a raid of 16 people, the more things going on in there and different features and things will actually create lag in communicating between the system. It's like, I don't know if any of you have played Lotro a lot and raided. Typically what you did in Lotro is when you were in a big raid and like you went into the Rift, you made sure that everybody turned off their cloaks and did not have free-flowing cloaks and tried to minimize all their exterior armor so that you could create less lag on the whole party. So the more detail you have, the more lag you will introduce.
Well, it depends. That's only true to an extent, because I don't want to get too technical here, and I know we have a lot of IT guys like Mike here. But one would think that in situations like that, it would theoretically, they wouldn't be. On the software side, they shouldn't be rendering all the intricate details of the face, especially if you zoomed out,
low detail,
use exact level of detail, those sorts of things. I mean, it's kind of like in the old days when you used to do first-person shooters, you used to have to tune the settings all the way down to the end to get a decent frame rate. I can see where in some circumstances, and I don't know, I haven't done a lot of the really high-end stuff in TOR, even though I have a pretty high-end rig, so it's not really a problem. But in that case, I don't think that should be the answer, because worst comes to worst. I mean, you got a fairly low-detailed, low-textured, low-res texture that you want to show anyway.
Well, true, but where it comes down to, and we don't want to spend too much time, let's say you're in Coruscant and there's 100 people there, and I'm just going to use an example. Let's say that each character, they have two variables that are sent to the server and then client to identify how they look to your client. If you add a third one, that just automatically increases the amount of data that is being transferred. And so it's just the less that they can bring those down to, because your body type, that's a variable in your character description that gets sent to the server and then back to every client that's within that area. So it's all that. But character creation, I like it. I think it's good. Some are going to argue.
Yeah, I like it. I don't mind it for what it is, and I wasn't expecting more, so this is pretty much in line kind of what I thought.
All right.
I was just expecting better hairstyles for the girl ones.
I will agree. I think some of the hairstyles, especially for the women, that whole
they're ugly.
The I know it's Star Wars, but the bun thing. If it was the same, if it was the same texture, it might be better. But they're weird off textures.
Yeah.
Something that's going to fix.
Microtransaction.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. A barber shop or something after.
Okay, next question.
And to be fair,
dance
and to be
studio
fair,
before a while.
the and to be fair, for Keeley and you know, my Jedi Knight has a beard.
So does mine. All right. Are there any race class combos that intrigue testers more than others? I'm boring. I played a human. Whatever.
To be honest, none of the non-human races really did a whole lot for me.
Did anyone play the cyborg?
No.
No.
I'm playing a cyborg as we speak, and I've played several cyborgs and love it.
This is where I'd love to get Georg in here and say, "Hey, what are the numbers on this?" But yeah, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, what is the cyborg? I mean, is it just a human with mechanical bits?
Human with
Yes.
metal pieces on its face.
Pretty much. Okay.
All right. Well, let's
I was
move.
just wondering if there was something unique about it.
Just mechanical junk stapled to your head.
Yeah, exactly.
essentially.
Unfortunately,
It was only one time. That was
It
only
really
one
is.
time.
yeah.
That's what it feels like. I mean, you pick your different races, and it's like, okay, well, this one can have tattoos, and this one can have implants, and this one can have these kind of tattoos.
But even with the other races, it's like these are except for the Twi'leks, everything else is these are the green humans, these are the humans with the blindfolds on, these are the humans with white skin, these are the humans with red skin. So you're not getting a lot of variety between them anyway.
All right.
Except for the Twi'leks, and we all love Twi'leks. I'll just stop there.
They do have racials now, but they don't do anything. So
Have
I
you
love
seen
this
that
cyborg
Twi'lek
racial,
dance?
though.
Oh, the
Twi'lek.
eye.
Yeah, it's like scans the whoever you have it targeted. I like it.
You will be
I
assimilated.
gotta run in and make one.
Whereas the human one, it makes everybody cheer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, next question. How was the game mechanics? Example, no auto attack. That's going to be hard for some folks, but I love it.
Maybe after about 2 or 3 minutes, I didn't notice it because you're doing stuff the whole time.
Right.
Yeah. I never really paid attention. Auto attack wasn't a big deal for me back in WoW anyway because I had my rotation set up. My auto attack really wasn't a big deal.
Yeah, but that's how I leveled up weapon skills back in the day.
Auto attack, you're not doing it right.
Well, yeah, I'm totally with Keeley on that. I never understand who wants to bring along someone that's going to auto attack the whole time. They probably keyboard turn as well.
Oh, we're not going there. We're not going there.
I think I choked on my water.
Okay. What about the other mechanics? I know, Gary, you're on the fence about how it feels.
Hey, you know what? I got the newest test, and with the ability queue that they set up,
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, the customizable latency for your commands, it does not feel squishy anymore.
Okay.
It feels like WoW at this point.
Let me guess, you set it to 0, right?
No, I actually set it up to 0.75 seconds.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I have mine at 1, which that was for me. It works perfectly.
Now, does somebody want
I might set it down.
Does somebody want to explain to folks that haven't been playing or trying to figure out what we're talking about, this latency queue or the skill queue?
It's real simple. When you have whenever you're doing something, everything's on your cooldown. You can queue up the very next ability to run, but you can only do it within a certain amount of time. So if you've got a 2.5 second ability, you can't queue the next one at 2.5 seconds in advance. That queue is customizable between 0 seconds all the way up to 1 second, and I think it's like quarter-second intervals.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it works really nice.
Okay.
And that does kind of soothes the idea about, okay, can I actually watch my character? Can I watch the screen, or do I have to constantly look at the cooldowns for my next ability? The idea of being able to queue them up so I can kind of hit the keys and ready out, and I can still see the game for what it is.
Which could create some issues because I know I play a Guardian. That's going to be my main character, a tank, and there are quite a few different procs that happen that I have to right now watch the keyboard for when they come off. And if I have the queue going, which is why I tend to keep my queue to very small, and I like firing things off as I come, but it's tunable for everybody.
Yeah, and for anything that has a rotation that doesn't have a whole lot of procs,
Oh, yeah.
it'll be great.
Okay, what has been shown thus far in regards to guilds? Do you want me to cover that?
Mike, that should be like your bread and butter right there, bro.
Yeah, every time I log into a new build, the first thing I do is I go check out the guild stuff. Basically, right now we have a standard guild interface. It's like pretty much every other game out there. They have talked about in the future, but not at launch, that we are going to get guild banks and things like that. And I think I've heard that there are some things coming in a possible patch, just nothing confirmed, and I don't know what they are, but that there's going to be some loving and that's not done yet. But for now, there's pretty much, it's a straight standard thing. You can set your ranks, you can create new ranks, and you can get rid of ranks. And Don, that's a good question. We'll actually talk about that next, unless anybody wanted to mention anything else about guilds at this point.
Had you heard anything about guild ships or space stations?
Nothing yet.
It's on the wall of crazy.
The wall of crazy. Okay, I'm going to skip what we had here and go to housing. Don asked about housing. There is no personal housing per se, but we all get a ship. And here's the great thing, if you've not heard, you can invite somebody onto your ship now, which makes me very happy.
That's excellent.
You know,
I can't imagine what will happen.
Don't you go
Keep from transport.
What? All right, who was saying what?
So how many get to
People don't
ride?
want to call the ship housing, but there's a bed and there's other beds for people to sleep on. So
What happens on
And
the ship
stays on the ship. You can sit. I was so excited. Oh my word! You can sit
Can we
in
sit?
chairs in the spaceships. I found that out like yesterday.
Oh, I'm gonna go check that in a second. So,
want to come see my ship and we'll hang out?
Yeah.
if anybody knows about the yacht in the in Star Wars Galaxies, you're not wrong.
Okay, let's move on here. In regards to the Legion, we'll go ahead and skip that one. We kind of covered that one. Talent trees. When can you start putting points in, and how does it work?
Level 10, and it's talent trees like in WoW.
Any other?
Once you've picked, yeah.
Want to give a quick? Go ahead.
And also, you've got the advanced class thing. So level 10, you got to pick which way you're going to go, and unlock 2 talent trees.
There's already a couple sites out there that have some talent trees to look at. I would not, go 100% by them. R2DB, I'm going to plug that one. And make sure that you remember that these trees might change a little bit before launch, so take that with a grain of salt. Just like with Rift, when Rift got ready, there were like 3 or 4 iterations, and everybody had these builds and were writing guides, and then it completely changed.
Is there any talk about basically being able to respec?
I don't know about talk-wise, but there was a respec vendor in the game, the beta I played. Rodian.
You can respec your talents. You cannot currently respec your advanced class.
Correct.
Right.
Although that sounds like that's on the wall of crazy as well.
I would like that very much.
Melissa just sent a G plus, says, I can't believe you guys glazed over the auto attack. It's just auto attack, Melissa.
When you play it, you really don't even notice it. It's like, oh yeah, I guess it doesn't.
Well, you do the first time that you sit there and you go AFK thinking that you're safe and hitting things, and you come back dead, so...
So don't play the game that way.
Yeah, I've never used auto attack and stuff like that, so I'm not really going to miss that.
What I love about it is that
that
each ability had like multiple hits. So like you hit ability and you get 3 swings out of my Jedi. So visually it looks like you're actually doing more than you are.
All right.
The thing that I really noticed is I usually will do left click to attack for my first attack, and it just depends on what's on your action bar, what it's going to do.
A couple other real quick things here before we continue down the pages. Changes to ability queue, like WoW's latency thingy. I think we kind of talked about that. Graphics improvements in this build. I can say, being that I've been in 4 different builds, that the graphics are getting a lot tighter, and the whole client is running really smooth. Anybody else want to concur or say?
Yeah, I definitely saw that today. I even saw that they updated some models between the last time I logged in and when I logged in today.
Okay.
I had the full screen map crash on me a few times.
Totally dropped. Ooh, sorry.
I had the full screen map crash on me a few times. That happened to anybody else?
Nope.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had a few minor glitches, things that I fully expect to be patched before launch.
I was just stuck running in place when I would go to a major hub for like a good 2 minutes, and then I'd be fine.
Okay.
Not all the time.
It's been that way for a
Dropped
while.
away, and all I saw was default. It said default all over, and it was like shadows of everything, and it turned pink and it turned black, and then like a couple of seconds later it finally brought back my graphics.
Well, there is a little bug that I'm having right now when it comes to graphics. Is with this build, the full screen exclusive is not working quite right. It's not actually full screen exclusive. If I click on my second monitor, it totally minimizes, and now I've got it trying to work with it between minimize, full screen, all that. It now won't go full screen. So, oh well, we'll figure that out another time. But okay, some more questions. Steve L posted. This was right after I posted this whole thing. He says, "Ewok Sith Lords, yes, no."
No.
All right.
Not a chance in the Corellian 9 elves.
Corey Downing says, "How balanced are the different tanking roles, and are any better or worse than others? Any particular situations that highlight strengths and weaknesses? What I'm trying to ask," he says, "is are all the tanks truly viable and equal in the end game, or is BioWare blowing smoke?"
I don't think you can tell at this point because nobody's been doing endgame.
Right there.
As far as I can tell, for I don't know about tanks in particular. For healers, certainly the bounty hunter / trooper and smuggler / agent healers need a little bit of tweaking, but I don't see them as completely unviable compared to the sorcerer / sage. They just need a little bit of effort.
Well, there's going to be they need to do something about healing here pretty quick because not having macros and not being able to do click to heal or overhealing.
You mean mouse overhealing?
Well, no, I mean you gotta click, press button, click, press button, click, press button, rather than hover over or
right,
just
yeah.
click to heal.
That was mentioned briefly. Georg actually mentioned that at the last Fansite Summit, which he didn't really go into any details, but the fact he mentioned it was very exciting for me because I love mouse overhealing, and so if that becomes a part of the game, I'm going to be a happy healer. I do want to kind of address that because we can actually talk about that more. A lot of people, especially from a WoW standpoint, which is quite a lot of us in here came from, we're going to come in thinking that as soon as we hit level 10, we're going to be ready to tank, we're going to be ready to be the best healers in the game and all that. BioWare's taking a different approach to that. It's actually a very steep ramp-up time as you're leveling, and you really don't get all of the skill sets you need until a little bit later on in the late 20s and 30s to be able to see how those work. So don't think just because at level 10 you can't hold aggro as a tank that you're failing. It's just the way the game's designed, and those instances aren't necessarily designed to have an absolute tank. They're DPS and whatnot. So what do you guys think about that, and can you speak to your experiences there?
Yeah, I came in, I wanted to roll kind of a combat medic type role, so I went with Commando when I was playing my trooper, and I went to level 15 the weekend I played, and so from level 10 to 15, I only have 5 points to really put in my healing tree, so I went with you guys on one flashpoint, Mike, and I was the designated healer, but I really didn't feel I was that much better of a healer than anyone else that might have had a heal in their rotation or anywhere in their use. So, you don't really feel solid in your role until you get much further down the line, because it's not like still trying to think of how it compares to WoW, which seems to be the staple that most people know. You can be in your low 20s and stuff and be a pretty solid healer in that game. This one feels like you're trying to heal an instance when you're level 8 by your time that early on.
And I know this question was specifically about tanks, but I do want to touch on healers a bit too, because the other difference for healing in this game as compared to what we're used to is this is going to become a major resource management healing scenario where you have a fixed resource pool instead of being able to build up mana to get humongous mana pools to use at your healing deals. Anybody get a feel for that and maybe get frustrated with that at first?
Yeah, that was the tweaking that I mentioned earlier about the difference between sorcerers and everybody else is that they have better resource management right now. But that's the sort of thing that's game designer tweaking. But for the moment, they have a much better resource situation, particularly since the other two non-force healers, they have that heat/ammo/energy mechanic that when you don't have much, it builds up very slowly, and when you have a lot, it builds up very quickly. So there's a little bit of that's really the trick to those classes.
Now, did you say the Force users don't have that? They regenerate at a constant rate no matter how much you have?
No, I just know that it's different, and they have a lot more right now to work with. I don't know the detail. I don't know the details of it because I don't like to swing glow bats.
Well, and I was frustrated when the very first beta I was in, I rolled a Sage to test out healing, and at lower levels it was very frustrating because I was going out of force often. Later on, BioWare did a high-level rollout on one of the servers, and I did manage to test briefly a 45-level Sage, and with the skill sets that they provided at that higher level, it was fantastic. It actually made healing a lot more exciting because there were some things you could do, like fire off a spell that would guarantee a proc. That proc would then guarantee you to regenerate force after doing a certain heal, and it made it to where I wasn't whack-a-moling. I was actually thinking about the process and getting a little more involved and not as bored or falling asleep or watching YouTube.
What can you compare it to, so I understand, like a disc priest or a holy priest or
To me, that almost sounds like shaman.
a shaman? Like, what would you say?
Yes.
Certainly not like a disc priest.
Well,
yeah.
to some extent, because the Sage and I guess I don't know about the Inquisitor side, the Sith side, but they have a bubble. They have a bubble shield that they will put on the tanks for mitigation. But they do have pretty well straightforward heals, so it could be like a disc priest. But then also you have the part of the shaman from WoW where you get some of that return back for the types of heals you do, and they have an AOE heal that's pretty cool and looks neat. So I don't think there's really going to be an absolute comparison between them. It feels like a refreshing way as a healer to do some healing. Now, who wants to tackle tanking? I did not do any high-level tanking, but I did test both Jedi Knight and Sage up to level 16, so it's not a fair evaluation.
I'm really curious about like having troopers and Jedi Knights, and then you have the counselor, who's not going to be wearing any kind of heavy armor. You know, he's not going to be wearing anything heavy. It's going to be light, but still being able to tank.
I think the assassins do get higher armor levels. The difference between the different tiers of armor is supposed to be at 5% per tier, when I understand, and they get a lot of talents and so forth to mitigate damage. It's not evasion tanking.
Well, it's somewhat evasion tank. You have skills that then help you avoid some of the avoidance tanking more, but you're still wearing light armor, but you have some skill sets and shielding that will help mitigate some of that. I think the changes they've done to the Shadow and the others is going to be very exciting. I went back. I was going to try to do a Shadow tank as my main, and I'm really falling in love with the feel and mechanics of my Guardians. So that's what I'm going to roll for main, but I'll probably eventually roll a Shadow tank as well because, hey, stealth. That's kind of cool as a tank.
When I got my Guardian up to like 26 weeks ago, it just felt like a warrior from WoW.
It kind of does. Okay, so let's see here. Next question.
I love my warriors in WoW.
We have another tank question. We kind of got that one. Kat, who was going to be here but she decided to give her seat up, said, is Jawa's sidekick as cool as BioWare is trying to say he is? How much modifications allowed for sidekicks?
At least as far as what I've seen so far, you basically get 3 or 4 different moves for your sidekicks, and then you can equip whatever you pick up.
Houdini.
Hold on, I'm answering Melissa.
Although I do find it funny that that particular sidekick's name's Blizz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he's fun too. I really like the Jawa vocalizations; those are fun.
Melissa's dying to get into the the room, so if anybody would like to slip out, it's
I'll flat out.
all right. Melissa, get ready. Keely's going to move out for you. She's going nuts about the white damage, and I'm going to take her on. I'm going to take her on about it.
I'll talk briefly on the sidekicks, just because I got a very small snapshot. So I was trying to absorb as much information as I could about them, and I like the fact that you could actually dress your sidekick in your hand-me-down armor. Whenever I got a new piece of armor, my sidekick happened to be a trooper as well, and every new piece of armor I got, I was like, oh, this is great, this is better, instead of just simply reverse engineering or DEing, disenchanting, as WoW people might know. I could actually look at it, see if it's better than what my sidekick had, bring open my character panel, click on your sidekick tab, kind of like you would a hunter pet, and I could drag my armor over and he'd wear it. It would change his outside profile as well. So there's lots of use in that. You can always dress them up, and I can see any hand-me-down, even though it was geared for me and I guess it was soul-bound to me, he could wear it as well.
Right.
So once you grind out your own gear in dungeons, I wonder if there's going to be the people where want to roll on something because, oh, my sidekick could use that. So there might be some added headaches with that later.
There could be.
I think that's going to happen even if they're not the same type. If that's just going to be worse when you have companions who have different stats and needs than you do. So, for example, as a smuggler or agent, your first companion is a character that can use heavy armor and prefers aim over cunning. And so, well, it's a trooper in many ways. So I'm afraid of the smuggler / agent saying, oh, I need that for my companion. Yeah, there was a lot of talk on beta forums about that, too, about people needing what I would, ideally like to see is a third selection between need and greed for companion. And maybe that's something they might add in the future.
Well, I think that's where it's going to become really important for our community and for the guilds. And if you're in a pug, it's probably going to be a little more difficult. But, yeah, hopefully they put something in. Go ahead, Gary. I'm sorry.
The other really cool thing about it, companions, is you've got all these companion quests. So it's not you just don't have a storyline, your companions have a storyline, too.
I loved mine. I had no idea what my companion was going to be because I wasn't planning on playing a counselor, so I was pleasantly surprised. I got the transition, one of those green lizardy guys. And he was so fascinating. Like, I just loved him. He talked to me, and he talked to me in his weird voice, and he, he was just great. I just loved it. And it's funny because I kept choosing all these things, and he actually liked what I said all the time, and then his little face pops up with a 15 points or something, and you go, yay, he loves me.
There are modification kits that are going to be throughout the world that you can get for your companions, change their appearances and stuff like that. They had a really good write-up on that. So we got Melissa in the room, and Melissa's chomping at the bit for us to go back to the white damage or the auto attack deal. So go ahead, Melissa. Tell us what you think.
Okay, so I read an article months ago, and I can't find it now, and it's really annoying me. So, but basically what the article explained is how white damage or auto attack damage really, really adds to it. It's just this huge chunk. It showed a recount of a rogue on a boss fight, a high-end boss fight of a rogue, and 25%, 30% of his damage was coming from white damage. I personally, I have a rotation set up and everything. I never paid much attention to it, but after looking at this recount, it makes me rethink the whole idea of white damage. I'm fine without having the whole auto attack. I can get around it, but it still adds a lot to the DPS.
What do you mean by white damage?
Basic damage that isn't affected by it's just your regular weapon. I hit you. Damage.
Yeah, but that's very design dependent. I mean, that may be true for WoW because they've designed it so that it takes it's such a big chunk of it. But it's specifically designed toward not for that. So you can't say, well, since it's 25% there, it'll be 25% here. You do have a default attack but that's pretty much filler for when you're, or at least for my classes, it's pretty much filler for when you're trying to wait for your resource to recharge.
If you think about it in WoW, mages and warlocks don't have white damage.
They do. They have the wand.
Well, how many
That's
people
the white damage.
How many people do you see wanding things in Recount?
Yeah. Never wanding,
You never
always
see
winding
the
up.
white damage occur, really. The white damage happens behind the scenes while you're doing your rotation. You're too busy concentrating on your cooldowns and your rotation to even see the white damage.
Go ahead, Andy. I think Andy's got a insight on this.
Andy has something important to say. Listen, everybody. It's all relative, too. So you say it's 25 to 30%, but like it was mentioned earlier by Kyle, if the game really was designed for that, you're never really going to miss it. It's like saying that a level 60 or 85 WoW character does more damage than a level 1. Well, yeah, level 1's not supposed to do that kind of damage. They don't have those abilities. They don't have those rotations. So when this game was never really designed to begin with to encourage that kind of, just slop damage, we'll call it, because you weren't really doing anything other than standing within the hitbox and having an auto attack, you can completely negate that kind of thing anyways. If one of those combat parsers that takes the Recount or SCADA or something like that from WoW, if it would just simply snip that out of the equation and remove that percentage, you'd still see everything that was needed to kill the boss. You just chopped off the amount that happened whether you were asleep at the wheel or not.
Well, and the other thing is, since there's no mods in TOR yet, you're not going to see it on your damage meters because you won't have any.
And honestly, I kind of help to keep those out.
And the whole deal about no auto attack basically comes down to the way that you engage in combat in TOR is different than like WoW. In WoW, you can basically walk up to a mob and just stand there, and as soon as you right mouse click on them, you're attacking them with your auto attack. You have to actively use your skills in TOR in order to be in combat. You will get white damage.
I noticed with TOR that when I right clicked on something, I did the first skill that I had slotted.
Right, but if you just stand there,
in slot 1.
But if you just stand there and don't touch your keyboard or anything, you will just stand there and get whomped upon.
Yeah, I noticed that too. And I played a Sith Inquisitor, and to me, I seemed like I really felt like I needed something there because I ran out of mana or everything was on cooldown at one point, and I couldn't do anything.
That happens.
Well, how about this? What if they would add auto attacks for any light force using people?
I think they
so you
never
have to come over to the light side to get your auto attacks?
No.
Oh, that's one. Oh, I'm gonna throw this one in here now. I'm gonna throw this in here now. It's in this build, and a lot of people already on the beta forums are upset, but I think it's lovely. They have now made it to where, in order to use a red crystal on a lightsaber or a weapon, you have to be dark aligned. In order to use a green or blue crystal, you have to be light aligned, no matter which side you're on.
Well, to be specific, you have to be not. You don't have to be dark aligned. You have to be not light aligned. In other words, it'll allow neutrals can use either.
Okay.
Where is that? Like, is that in the dev tracker somewhere? Or?
It's in the game.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just in the game. It's not. There's not an announcement.
It's in the patch notes.
In the game,
No.
which I'm currently not in.
Yeah, it's in the patch notes, which you currently. Well, you can't see, but now they're not secret.
Also, one other. This is so awesome. A lot of crafters were asking about this, and this has been an ongoing thing. We can now craft by putting our materials in our ship hold, and our crewmates.
If you knew how happy that
it made me happy too.
Changed everything for me.
I tested it out. You just put all your crafting mats in your hold, send your companions off to craft stuff, and they get it out of there. It still ends up in your bag. The finished product does, so you could run out of space easily. But that is a fantastic addition.
You know what?
Yeah.
I didn't know before playing this weekend, so maybe this wasn't common knowledge, and NDA lifted now. They actually have a button, like if anyone's played Torchlight, that you can send your companion off to sell your gray items, your junk, and he'll return in 60 seconds with the money for you.
That's been there for a long time.
Okay, now what if you have another button that says, take all these items we've scavenged and send those back to the ship?
That'd be awesome,
Wouldn't
too.
that be helpful?
That would.
Because even that beta weekend when I tried crafting, half my inventory was full of crafting material.
Well, mind you, it's only been like 2 builds that they... like 3 builds ago, we had a much larger bag to start with, and they cut it down to these 2. And I can see why they're doing it. It makes you manage your time a little better. Anthony, I see you talking and your hand moving, but no sound.
No, I'm muted. I'm talking to Olivia. She's in the
Oh, okay.
Sorry, guys.
So it's a fantastic addition to have that crafting. All right, who else has something? Let's see. Gary had a question. The Jawas in general crack you up. Why?
Oh, yeah. Well, these aren't so much questions, Mike, as comments.
Observations.
Yeah.
Shared questing.
That's the big one for me. I mean, since you can quest with these people, and you've come up to these cutscenes, and you all participate in these cutscenes, and you get social points for doing so, and then you can get gear based on your social points. That seems huge to me. That's why I like the whole idea of doing Bravo Squad and saying we're all going to quest together, rather than people getting out of sync with their leveling. Just once or twice a week, we're going to do questing, and maybe we'll get up to doing flashpoints. But the social stuff really sounds really nice.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Anybody else experience shared questing and want to talk about that so others know?
I went with you guys on that
I found
flashpoint.
it to be a little bit helpful. If I would like, I think it would be more helpful if people could actually, if this was the real game, it'd be a lot more helpful and people would talk about it more. It's just, this is beta. Everyone's kind of like not really going to see each other again on the same server, so no one's really using it.
Okay. Andy?
I was mentioning the one experience I enjoyed over the weekend of questing together. We went and did a flashpoint, and the other three people I went with, including you, Mike, and we got the one point. Now I can't really do much on story here, but there's a light side, dark side choice. The other three chose light side. I went dark, as I promised I would, and I barely missed the roll on that. Which you said would have been the first time you actually seen what happened to the story when it went the dark side route, which is cool because that adds a little replay value because there's turning points in each of these flashpoints where the story's going to fork and things are going to play out differently, and you may have a different experience every time. And I don't know, but maybe that'll lead you down a different path to a different boss that will give you kind of mirrored gear of what you would have got one side, and you're going to see the same stats, but it'll just name different. I don't know.
Well, without ruining story,
that would be interesting.
There are some differences that happen on one of the occasions in S-List. It'll take you on another side trip that you don't if you do another option. And I was telling you guys in Mumble that the neat thing about doing S-Lists, I've done S-Lists I think 6 or 7 times now, and my first fear when I heard about how the flashpoints were with the story, I thought, okay, the story's cool, but then am I going to get sick of this? But even doing it 6 or 7 times, I did not mind going through the story. It was still fresh. It still went through quick enough for me. And, if you get to a point where your guild's like farming it for gear and stuff for alts or something, you can then, since you've all been through it, you can skip through it by, thumbing through the quests. But at the same time, the neat thing about this weekend is going with Andy. This was his first time in. And I just got a kick out of asking him, so what do you think? Is this cool? And he's like, this is awesome. And so that was the cool part for me.
For replay, I mean, I don't know about you guys. I can't tell you how many times I've replayed Mass Effect 1 and 2. So I don't understand. Just from my personal perspective, it'll be fine.
All right, let's go on with some of the observations here. We talked about player housing a little bit. Looks like we'll be able to call our ships our house, which is really cool. Some people may dismiss it, but I love my ship. And I love the Jedi ship. It is just awesome. Others like their ships. I really find it a place to hang out. Before, I think, this weekend's build for the first stress test, you didn't get rested XP. You do now. So you have a reason to go to your ship when you log off. You can get rested XP and it's your own little place.
Transporters.
Plus, it's an opportunity when you first log in to run your space dailies, and you want to run your space dailies. It can be a lot of good XP, and it doesn't suck as bad as I was afraid that it would.
No, it's pretty fun. No macro language. No mods means no click to heal or hover heal, which we kind of talked about that they're hopefully going to put that in-game, which would be fantastic. But no macros right now. No talk of that. I don't know if anybody's heard about the future. I know that it's not for launch. What are your opinions? That's all we can have, is opinions.
Really, the only thing I miss from macro languages is hover healing, is mouse hover healing, and if they include that, then I'm good.
I'm gonna be missing. Just all. I had all these little macros set up for social aspects, actually, for like setting out a pet and saying something, or anytime the war zone would open, I'd be like, "Let loose the dogs of war!" Rah! I can't have that.
Yeah, I won't be able to use my warning. I can't heal stupid macro anymore.
They're handy. They're handy if you have to pass a lot of buffs.
Well,
there's not that many in this game, is there?
There's only 4 buffs, and they cover the whole party. So you just hit it once, and everybody's buffed. So it's pretty easy.
Well, unless the person dies,
like when
then
I
you
played
have to
Bard,
target them and buff them separately.
Well, it's still a whole party buff, so it still works out. Let's see here. Do the controls feel mushy to anyone else? We talked about that. Gary mentioned it plays well on an iMac. A lot of people have been wondering about being able to play the game on a Mac. You want to play it in boot camp, however, it's not going to do really well in an emulated deal because it does have a lot of resources that it needs. And if you boot over into boot camp, now I don't know right now because I don't have my Mac anymore, but when I was testing the first 2 builds, I found using the standard Apple video drivers to work better than trying to use ATI's drivers. I don't know if anybody has found if the new drivers work okay. I think that Apple does some things with the GPU and CPU setup different than the standard ATI, but it does work really well. So don't be afraid to use it.
I actually had a friend at work that got into beta this week and tried to run it through VMware and failed miserably.
Yeah, it's just too much of a resource hog.
Now, I didn't follow the game a whole lot in its beginning because I knew I didn't want to get myself excited because it was so far out before it actually was going to launch. What was their official statement on why they didn't decide to go with the Mac client?
Was there an official statement? I know they said that they weren't doing it. They were doing it for Windows at this time.
Is that on Wall of Crazy? Because I've got a friend at work that said immediately, I asked him if he was playing. He's like, no Mac, so the game's dead to me. I don't care. And he doesn't.
Which is strange because you can run any of these Windows games in boot camp just fine, especially if you have one of the newer Macs. I don't.
I'm using boot camp.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Blizzard's the outlier in actually doing a native Mac client. Everybody else just says, well, you know what, go into boot camp.
Well, here's the thing, and this is what I find weird. When I was experimenting with boot camp and testing that out with this beta, I kept finding things where people were playing WoW on their Macs in boot camp. And I'm thinking, why are you using boot camp? There is a Mac client. So
Actually, the DirectX does give you a few more frame rates than...
Well, there you go. So if you want to play SOTOR and you have a Mac, just go with boot camp. If you can't afford Windows, well, let me give you a real quick tip. Right now, you can get Windows 8 Developers Preview for free. Don't know how long that's going to last, but hey, that's a free version of Windows. It's a pretty slick little operating system, man. Go ahead and install that, and you can play to your heart's content. And then when you're able to, go ahead and upgrade the full Windows package there. All right, so what other things? Go ahead. Go ahead, Don.
Anybody notice any differences? Anybody notice any differences between XP, Windows 7, or Windows 8?
I haven't.
So I'm running XP right now. See if it's work fine.
I haven't played XP in forever. Will XP support DirectX? Will it support 10 or 11? I don't think it will 11.
But 10 it will.
It will 10? Okay.
Yeah.
I can't answer your question. I play on Windows 7, 64-bit. In DX11, I believe, and the game's beautiful. Mm-hmm. Gorgeous. All right, so what are some of your experiences? What are some things that you have been dying to tell the public that you have not been able to say about your time in the beta, or some feature? I told you about the chairs and the crafting. What are some things that you've been dying to let people know that they keep asking?
At one point during the beta, I actually had my character sit in the cantina and send off Kim Ball to do errands for like an hour, because I knew I'd only be able to play for an hour, so I couldn't do anything. So I was like, Cantina, okay, you go do this. And I was like, yay!
Okay.
You know what I liked was at the very start, I was had the WoW mindset, so I'm level 1 or whatever there, and the animals hit me hard, and I wasn't prepared. I was prepared to just go boo 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 and have everyone dead and just run on do the next quest. And even at a low level, maybe because I suck, it was challenging, and I enjoyed myself.
You mean when
it wasn't instant auto go on?
You mean when I said a couple of weeks ago that the leveling process wasn't trivial? You didn't believe me?
I had to experience it.
They've been ramping that up for the betas, though, too.
Oh, they have.
I noticed.
I logged in.
It's a lot more challenging.
I logged in
than
today.
These recent builds, and that's intentional.
Yeah, I logged in today, and forgot not a normal mob. The next one up, a strong mob, nearly kicked my butt, and normally he wouldn't. So. It's definitely not like WoW where you're going to blaze through the levels. All right, go ahead.
I like the little world heroic that they had in the main planet for the Sith. I'm trying not to give too much away, but it was like this.
You can say
2+.
Korriban.
No,
Dromund
Kaas. But it's on Dromund Kaas. There's a heroic 2+ mob dungeon, I guess, because it's in a specific area on Dromund Kaas.
Oh, the heroics?
Yeah,
Okay.
It wasn't like a dungeon though. It wasn't a flashpoint or anything. It was just there.
There are some heroics that are instanced and some that are not. They have some non-instanced ones for the trooper and smugglers on the Republican side that are on an island, and you just kind of go over there. If you try to do them yourself, you're going to get smacked around because there's some elites. So you want to go in with a group, and it's really cool.
Yeah.
And Mike, did you just say the Republican side?
No, Republic.
Yes.
I said Republic.
No, he's right. You said Republican.
We'll bleep that out then.
This explains a lot.
Join the Empire.
All right, who else? What are some?
I did see on Coruscant there was a world. I think even if you moused over it, it said world boss on it. It was like a level 18 elite with most people around 10 by the side there running around that area. So I was curious to come back to that later and see about getting.
There are world bosses. You need a full operation group usually to defeat them. And as of the build that went in yesterday, they finally have loot appropriate for the difficulty. And by the way, you know that they're up because when they're walking around, if you're anywhere even just a little bit close to them, the whole screen shakes every time they take a step.
Fel Reaver!
Like, why is there an earthquake here? I'm like, well, the world boss is up.
Oh, man. I didn't just say Fel Reaver. No, I didn't.
Is the person big enough to make the world shake, or is that just to let you know?
The world bosses are usually pretty big. Maybe not really to make the whole world shake, but they're no Jawas.
Speaking world bosses and shaking, and then he said Fel Reaver there. I know this is side game, but I've got the captive audience here. I want to share a beta experience. Back playing the World of Warcraft beta in Outland, one of the beta builds accidentally swapped the Fel Reavers models with bears, grizzly bears, and so your screen still shook. And he was as big as a normal bear, and you didn't know what was going on. If you were just whacking at someone, and you turn around and you see this bear and just like one-shots you and you're dead, and then it goes stomping off somewhere else. It was a hilarious bug.
Number one enemy to Americans. Stephen Colbert said so. Long throw it down.
Yeah,
Yep.
go.
I think the most pleasant thing I discovered is that I can walk.
Yes, and
I do not have to run about.
And it's a good-looking walk too.
The female characters, I hate the way they walk around. They look
Really?
dainty, and these are not dainty girls. These are girls who can kick some butt.
Well, I'm comparing it to
the
other
hips level,
MMOs like Lotro, where everybody looks like they got a stick stuck up somewhere when they try to walk. Sorry, Turbine.
know is that
I love
they're
you guys
running-
too, but
Like the thing that surprised me. So coming from a background where I did a lot of jump to light speed in Galaxies, and I'm a longtime Eve player, and if you love space like that, then TOR space is exactly what they said it would be. but within the constraints that they set of it being this kind of, rail shooter, it's kind of cool.
It's gorgeous too.
Yeah, the graphics are really, it's got a lot of eye candy.
The space
and
combat.
It's fun for running your dailies. You go take, 30 minutes a day or whatever, and you get anywhere from, half to almost a full level a day just from that. So it's pretty good.
The background music was beautiful too. And when you got into like a bit more of an intense situation, the music amped up in the background and went along with it. And really, it puts you in the game.
Here's some good news. This build that they just released that you'll all be able to play during the stress test coming up, they've added more music and more cues for the music. So I love the music, but there were times, and I've been in it so long that there's places that there was no music, and I'm like, oh, I'm bored. So I started listening to Pandora, and I'd rather listen to the game music, so now it's playing, and I'm really excited about that.
Make
Skyrim
Star Wars
music?
channel in Pandora, Mike.
Huh?
Yes, Dovahkiin!
All right, what else? What are some other cool things that you guys have seen in games so far that you've been dying to tell people about?
You know what I miss? I miss the default beasts.
A lot of people don't know about that.
Oh, another thing that's really cool besides the you're talking about the default textures when they were missing. They were pretty funny.
Oh, yeah,
I saw some
a
of
lot
those
of
in
that
the reflective shaders
Well-
that were on glossy surface.
Well, no.
There's these things, I don't know what to call them. I call them kind of micro stories, so you've got these different levels of story in the game, right? You have the overall game storyline, about which I will say nothing, but there is one. You have the storyline for your character, of course. You have on each planet a kind of planetary storyline, plus I guess the bonus series that's on there, and whatever individual side quests. But as you're running around, you'll see NPCs doing something, interacting with each other in some way, and if you stop and pay really close attention, you'll see on Nar Shaddaa, you'll see something funny about clearly some gamblers who lost a lot of money, not up for it, and getting taken out by casino, or getting jacked up by casino security. Just these little tiny things like that make the world come alive for me.
Keely had asked in the chat room about, did anybody get any chance to do any PvP? What are your impressions?
Just one for me, but the bolstering system is really cool.
I played a little bit.
Up until this build, I haven't done any. I've done very few, I should say, war zones, but I've done world PvP, and that is much more fun than some folks might think. And it's not on all planets, and it's not everywhere that you go, but where it is, you kind of have to be aware, and it makes it much more fun to run around with a group just for protection.
I did get a chance to do Void Star, I think last week. Steph and I went in there, and that was fun. And by the way, we'll get that question. Guys in the chat room, if you guys have more questions, just fire them off. Somebody else is going to say something about PvP, though?
Yeah, the bolstering system for Battlegrounds is perfect. I mean, you don't have to wait for queues for your level, because if you're not the right level, it just boosts you up.
All right, you want to explain to everybody what that is,
Everyone else.
in case they don't know?
Was that?
You want to explain more what that is so people will know?
Well, it basically gives you a buff that brings you within 80% of what everybody else is kind of at for their level. You may not have access to all the abilities that everybody else does, but you do as much damage or you do as much healing.
So there's no longer like tiered sections, like your levels 10
Right.
through 19. You're saying?
Right.
Right, exactly.
Keely wanted to
Now,
know.
do they-
So
Oh, go ahead.
Not really any tweaking.
I was going to say they just figured that out based upon level, right?
Yeah.
Correct. Keely wanted to know more about World PvP. I don't think many of us got into the World PvP situation. Somebody in here may have. But another news that came out today is an additional World PvP area that some of us knew about but could not say a thing about, and that's on Tatooine. So,
And it is total free-for-all.
yep, it's
As
player
in,
against
even
player.
it's even within faction. The only people you can attack are the ones in your group.
Wow.
Really now?
Yep, it's going to be awesome.
So that Jedi ninja'd me the other day, and I see him here.
Really? So I can kill everyone.
Just don't, as long as you're not grouped with them.
Yes, Keely, that's even on a PvE server. Think of it like the if you know the arena areas in WoW, when you go into those that you're flagged and like faction can attack. So that's going to be that section there.
And you see that thing where you can kill? There's going to be a vendor for super uber gear or something to do with that, and you can actually get redeem your gear from him, and then you can kill him after, so no one else can get it for a very long time.
I did not see that. What?
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
There, apparently, what I read, there's I guess treasure chests and stuff, and you get your tokens or whatever. And there's the special guy that you go to, turn it in. You know, in Wintergrass, there's the vendors there. Well, you can be a poo head and get your stuff and kill them. And they said they have very, very long spawn times before they'll come back. So it actually does make a huge difference to other players.
Wait, but is that?
That sounds like a glitch.
They had a patch in the notes now where you can't kill the opposing factions vendors. Is that what you're talking about?
I was reading about this it was to do with this new PvP today.
Oh, okay. I haven't looked. Well, that'll be cool, though.
Oh, one other thing that people, this is a little bit more of things that people don't know about. Everybody knows that probably, well, maybe they don't. So there's a VIP lounge for the suckers that paid for the collector's edition in your factional space station, your center hub for everything. You can get in even if you did not get suckered to pay the, $15,000 in your newborn's head or whatever it is to get in. You can pay 1 million. And for those of you in the beta, you're thinking 1 million credits. But if you think long term, in about 3 months, you'll at some point, or 4 months, that won't be as big of a deal as it is at launch.
Okay, let me go back to a question here.
That better just be for the beta. My collector's edition.
I know a lot of people are upset about it.
It's not so much the VIP lounge. I mean, that's good enough. The collect it's not like that's a collector's edition only thing. That was just you don't have to pay the 1 million credits in there. There is collector's edition only VIP vendor.
Yeah, that's still CE only.
Yeah,
right.
No one else gets that.
All right, Siths in the chat room asks,
I found what I was talking about.
Oh, okay.
If you guys want to
then
see
we'll get
it.
to Sith's question.
Or I can read. Do you want me to quickly or no?
Yeah, go ahead.
It just says, somewhat surprisingly, the rare spawn vendor can be killed. This guy, Gabe's character, reached inside a tent and clicked on the Battle Lord's private stash of hooch. The vendor went into a rage and attacked. If you kill the vendor, he won't respawn again for some time. Yes, you can buy up all of the rare goodies for yourself and kill the seller afterward. Everyone else is out of luck for a long time. Glorified griefing or simple dark side fun.
Just in that area. That's interesting.
So that's really cool.
Okay.
Until
Very
it happens
nice.
to you.
So back to the question. Sith asks, does anyone know about the grace period? I hear we won't be able to play the game until we get our CD key.
Yeah. So for those of you who ordered physically, a physical media because you're suckers, you don't have to wait for it to arrive to be able to play. You should have already gotten your key in the email and entered that on the site, and you'll be able to play on day one. You just won't have your little Darth Malgus doll or whatever until your CE comes, suckers.
We do not know yet when.
Why are you hating on the CE so much?
We
so overpriced.
Well, it's priced right now as sealed box like $200 or so. But all I wanted was I did buy the CE, but I don't care about the doll. I don't care about all that stuff. I can easily resell that stuff. And people that do want to collect those things on down the line, they just don't want to have the CD key.
Hopefully it won't be like the Tabula Rasa CE that even when the game was still running, I bought the CE on eBay for like half the price of the regular game from the vendor or from the actual
I don't
company.
think this one will be.
I do have the Star Wars Galaxies collector's edition.
Hush, Gary. That's what I was freaking out about.
Biggest
Yeah, I do
piece of whatever. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I have that as well.
Get a pewter figurine.
Dang it, you got me sidetracked again. So, when do we get in? We don't know the details on that. Stephen Reed did post something this week that we actually won't get details on when our line in the early access will be until after this upcoming stress test this Thanksgiving weekend. They're going to take those numbers and then they're going to start rolling out and giving us ideas of when we get in. Because, like they've said, you will get in between the 15th and the 20th, depending upon when you registered your key. Some of us didn't do it right away, so we don't know when we'll be in, but we'll wait to get that information.
I had a major brain fart today about that and realized that even though I had pre-ordered back in July,
You didn't enter your key?
I could have sworn, if you had asked me yesterday, I would have signed any affidavit, sworn in front of the Supreme Court that I had, and I didn't. And so my pre-order code is registered as of November 18th now.
We'll see you on the 19th, bro.
Oh my God.
Later than me.
Yeah, I'm figuring
The
now.
moment I got home with the receipt.
I did it at work. I was just in there like order, okay, copy. I could have sworn, but I guess I didn't hit the last button. I'm consoling myself by telling myself that I usually don't get to play much during the week anyway. So when it launches on a Friday, I'll be okay. That's I want to cry.
Play those first 2 days. You remember those first 2 days in Hellfire Peninsula will be the same.
I didn't. You're not talking to a big WoW guy, so.
Well.
In fact, I've never been in a game at launch.
Well, try and log in during stress test weekend. You'll get
an idea.
Let's talk
about that.
Screw this. I'll wait till Monday.
Let's actually talk about that. For those of us that were in this stress test, this was a huge stress test. A lot of folks actually equated that the numbers, we don't know for sure, but the numbers were probably larger than some game launches for this last weekend stress test. Even with the queues, and some people were getting upset about the queues, I have to say, once you were in game, and there were like 6 or 7 instances of Tython, for example, it ran smooth. Anybody else have any issues or any insights on that?
I didn't have one single queue, and being a mom, I was on and off. Like I logged right off and on all weekend because I had to go here and I had to come back and play. And I went there, never had a problem, not one queue, just right in. So I thought it was really funny that other people, it's like on G Plus, I'm in like 600 in line and stuff, and I'm thinking, I was on Iron Citadel, the PvP one.
I was
I was on
like
Leviathan.
87 in queue, and I got in like 20 minutes. It wasn't that bad.
No, they moved pretty
20 minutes. Yeah, in some of the case, I mean, I was doing fine. I went to Leviathan is my regular service, what I'm on right now, and at one point I logged in, I was like number 4 in queue. Okay, great. Then my router crashed, and when I came back, I was 1,400 and something, and it was waiting. Tried another server, I was still 1,400 and something, and I said I'm going to play Civilization 5 now.
One thing that I definitely noticed is WoW has a mechanism so that if you crash out of the game and you've been logged in for more than half an hour or something like that, they stick you at the front of the queue. Mm-hmm. So if you crash out of the game when you're in a raid, you come right back in. You don't go to the end of the queue. And in TOR, I crashed out of the game, came back in, I'm 3,000 in the queue.
Oh.
The issue we had with Redeemed is we had chosen a different server, one of the new servers to go to, but we couldn't access it right away. And the question I had posed even on the beta forums earlier in the week was trying to get a yellow post to confirm if maybe our folks could join us on Leviathan, because everybody assumed that you couldn't. Nobody had said either way. I was asking. Everybody, of course, heckled me and trolled me and said, "You're stupid. They got these new ones." And anyway, turns out they could. So we already had our guild set up on Leviathan, but then the queues were so bad that not all our folks could get in, so we ended up going to one of the other newer servers.
That's what you got for playing Republic.
Yep.
Neener.
Republican.
Yeah, Republican.
Yeah. He's a Republican.
Okay.
I think I was a little shocked by the little bit of lagginess in game during some peak times. Watching things kind of like all of a sudden it's like, okay, nothing's happening.
Where were you at?
Nobody. What do you mean where?
Location-wise in the game.
I was in Tython when that happened. At the Jedi Temple.
Yeah,
Every time I went to go in there.
Jedi Temple tends to have a little lag.
Oh, does anybody who's in beta remember what it was like a few builds ago in the Senate Plaza?
Oh, it was horrid. Oh, my word, you couldn't even move. It was 3 frames per second.
The was, if you turned off your UI, it was fine.
Yep. And if you immediately step through the door into the space dock area, just through that one door, boom, it was fine. Or if you went into the Senate Tower, it was fine. It was all a deal with the map, and they got it fixed, so it works.
Yeah.
But I was just wondering if what I was experiencing was just because of the raw number of people that were all in Tython at the same time, kind of a thing.
Well, that could have been.
There's definitely some lag when you take a shuttle or something. You go to a new place, you kind of sit there for 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds. Oh, everything caught up, and you can move.
Yeah.
Yeah, I ran into a little bit of a lag. Like anytime I take an elevator and I try and step out of it, I'd be a few steps out and then I'd freeze.
But the other thing is, everybody
anything,
complains
and
about
then-
queues, and they're gonna try to, especially on a beta test, they're gonna try to justify the worth of the game based upon queues, which is silly. Because even in launch, Rift had this problem. Rift had massive queue issues. It wasn't but 2 weeks after that, everybody forgot about the queues. There were no queues. They were busy playing. So it's like, let's not be short-sighted, guys. Just wait in line. You'll get on. And with the way that the system's working now, and they're going to be distributing our guilds, they're going to hopefully alleviate a lot of that problem when we go live. No comment.
Yeah, it'll be fine in the end. Yeah.
Now, I did want to bring up a real quick question for us to kick around a little bit. I hung out at the I don't want to get it, Frag World Guild Council meeting for the first time on the other night on TeamSpeak. Don't get me started on TeamSpeak, but anyway, it was interesting, and some of the folks in there were from RP PvP servers, which BioWare said they're going to be putting in the RP PvP servers, but not in the new or in the distribution system that they have set up on the HQ. With that, they're a little upset, and I can understand they're being upset, but they're handling it really well. They're going to eventually, once they roll, they're going to find the server, they're going to move to it and have all their folks go to, which can be a logistical situation since we've got this system in place. It brought up a question for some of us that are going to be on RP servers that I'd not thought of. What's going to happen when the system puts everybody into these nice server clusters, and let's say they put 5,000, let's say, on our server, and half of our server wants to actually be on an RP PvP server, and as soon as they go live, we have a mass exodus from our RP server. I wonder if that's going to be a big issue, if we're going to have some RP servers that are going to end up needing to be merged, or if there's a plan, and I'm a little concerned.
I think you're getting way ahead of yourself about mergers. I mean, there will be people continuing to join the game for months to come, so I think it's going to work out.
No, we hope so.
And for every guild that wants to move from server A to server B, there's a guild that wants to move from server B to server A. So I think naturally things will just kind of balance out. There are going to be some higher population servers that just have more issues. That's just the nature of things, and some ones that are empty.
It's usually going to be the ones with the cooler name.
Yep. I always go for stay away from the Darth Malgus server.
We did get kind of, it's not a confirmation, but somebody said they did find out that when you're dealing with the alliance system, that daisy chaining is not going to work. That if you want to be on the same server as another guild, you have to have them as your ally, and they have to confirm you as an ally. So a lot of folks, like in the RP community in particular, they had been doing these massive daisy chains to try to make sure that that whole group gets into a server together. Looks like that isn't going to happen.
Yeah, but you can choose more than one ally, so they can just, one chooses one ally, that they link up, then another one links with the other one, and then just link like that.
Well, that takes a lot more coordination, though. But yeah, you're right. And yeah, Siths, we did talk about the legacy system. I think everybody was kind of excited about it, but still worried about some of the ramifications. But we don't want it to go away because anything new and cool and awesome is going to be neat. Well, Don says RP servers usually lower population should be okay. I actually disagree. I do not want us to have end up on a low population server, because what happens is that's going to mess your economy up and many other of the social aspects of the game. A medium population is better than a high population, but the minute you start trying to find numbers, and then the other issue is if we have a major faction imbalance, that's going to cause problem for PvP. Even though we're on an RP server, we're going to like PvP. We're going to like doing these world PvP objectives, doing war zones and all that. And all this is based on server, not as a cross-server deal. So hopefully we have some good balances and we don't get left lopsided.
Yeah, but I think this game has got so much marketing and hype and potential behind it. There ain't going to be no low servers. There's going to be a lot of overcrowded servers and medium servers.
That very well
I really can't think of servers are getting low for more than a few days or a week or something like that before they get swarmed by a new rush of people coming in.
And the other thing we've mentioned before...
Yeah, I didn't mean low, but I meant relative, right?
Right. Relative would be good.
Well, and all they got to do is just have. I mean, there'll be planning capacity based on what people are wanting. So yeah, sure, I expect to be a lot more, quote unquote, normal servers than RP servers, and more PvP servers than RP PvP servers. So there may be a lower overall population within the entire game of RP players, but if there are half as many RP servers, then that won't translate necessarily to lower server populations.
Okay.
Yeah, it should amount to less pressure, right? Less, we won't have to queue as much, and we won't have the lag problems, right?
Right. Sith asks another question, then we're going to go ahead and get ready to wrap this up so I don't keep everybody too long. He says, what are your thoughts on not being able to name your companions? Last weekend I saw 20,000 Makos running around.
I never even noticed, so it doesn't bother me.
I mean, I saw the Chemballs running around, I saw some Makos running around, but I really didn't care. I mean, you can't change the name because that's going to be in the cinematic.
It's in the story. Yeah, that's the main reason is the stories sometimes wrap very deeply around those guys, so that's why they're not...
But you can turn off seeing the other names, and once you customize them, so you see somebody running around with, some girl behind him. That could be Mako, it could be one of the other ones, and you can just pretend in your mind it's just, two chicks running around.
And Vertex says, that's taken care of by the title, Your Name's Companion.
Yeah.
There have been guilds in beta that were called Your Companion.
Yep. You want to talk about Hammer Station briefly? Sure. Fire it up. What did you think about the cinematic?
I noticed one thing. It seemed like, it was... it looked to me like it was an Empire thing, right? Like there's the Empire was trying to take it back, but it looked to me like it could be a joint venture because I thought I saw a Jedi Councilor there. It looked to me like it could be like a Republic Empire joint flash.
It's going to be for both sides. I think the exciting thing, and I'm a Republic guy, is they finally showed a Flashpoint with Darth Malik doing the voiceover. So that's what the Sith side is going to see when they go in. When we go in, we're probably going to hear Shatil. So all of the other things we've gotten have tended to be Shatil giving the orders and stuff and showing the Republic
Malik
side.
or Malgus?
Malgus. Sorry. I've been listening. I've been reading Revan.
So Darth Malik, the Republican?
Yes, that's right.
What I'm sad is that this is the only Flashpoint that they've shown where the player characters die.
I know, and they're Sith.
Like, what?
Sorry.
What?
But that's okay, because if you notice all the cinematics, it's the Jedi that always die, so...
As it should be.
Yeah.
All right,
But will they be able to play at the same time?
Oh, no. That's a Flashpoint.
No.
That's an
They were
instance.
probably fighting with like a Sith, a Republic person. I don't think there was any Republic in there. The clothes may have just been light side.
I just thought I maybe saw both on the same scenario. I thought I saw a Jedi Counselor with Empire guys. So I thought maybe that both factions could play on the same time.
No. They've not said anything about that. The enemies that were in there were some alien race.
That's impossible.
They were Republicans with horns on their head.
Cats and dogs living together.
Mass hysteria.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Vertec mentions. He says he's got to say a few boss mechanics in Hammer are nifty and actually take some work. Duros, he thinks, is that the robot guy you're thinking of, Vertec? That big round guy. And if it is, I have to agree. I went in with my level 45 in there one time and tried soloing it, and that robot killed me almost because he's got all these ads. So it's going to be some really neat fights. All right, what else before we wrap this thing up?
What time Monday? No, I mean, really, you're going to wrap up and tease your next hangout.
That's right.
Same bat time, same bat
Keely,
channel?
wait, Keely, you had a question. What's your question?
What do we think of the male Sith voice? We don't, because we're Republicans.
They're all British.
They're awesome.
The Sith Warrior voice is great.
The male Sith Inquisitor or Sith Warrior? Because I heard the Sith Inquisitor.
I just heard the Sith Warrior. I played him a little bit, and I like it.
Female Inquisitor is uber sexy and cool. I can't imagine a guy not just being
Yeah.
captivated like
Jedi Knights rules. The fun.
My female Inquisitor was kind of a foolhardy bitch.
But she sounds great.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and nothing though beats of the Republic, the female Republic trooper.
We're going to keep saying. Your text says Republican
see-
versus Empiricants or Empiricants. Empirocrats. There you go. I can't read.
See, I can't handle Femme Chef as the trooper because I have Femme Chef on my Mass Effect. Why isn't she taking out the Reapers? Why
You
is
have a
she
problem
getting all the-
with a male Revan too.
Houdini!
How many of you have had problems when you're in a flashpoint and you find somebody of the same class? You know, I'm a Jedi Knight, and there's another Jedi Knight there. I use body type 3 on my knight, the big strapping tank guy, not the cheeseburger guy, but the bigger guy. And here's a guy, the skinny body number 1. He's got my voice. Does that freak you out?
A little creepy.
A little bit.
A little bit.
But then, like, the person I was playing with chose all the different, like, chose all the opposite voice, like, answers than I did, and so I was, like, kind of okay with it. I was like, okay, you're being a light side wimp. Alright.
It would have been nice if they did something like Dragon Age, where you had a choice of a few different voices to kind of set yourself apart.
I
The voice choices in
was just
Dragon
told
Age
by
probably-
Tanya that we should probably save something for Monday.
What? Save something for
We
Monday.
can just talk about it again.
Yeah, we'll talk. We're old. We can talk about it again.
I'll be doing good to even remember that we had this on Monday.
I'm excited. There's going to be a lot more information. G Plus just exploded the moment all the news hit. It was nuts.
Oh my
It was,
god, don't tell
and I think it was exploding more than Twitter was, which, that makes me proud.
And I think that's a special thing, though, to reminders. I don't want to know how any of the stories turn out, so I'm hoping people on G Plus don't let the cat out of the bag.
That's right.
Yeah, I won't spoil any stories.
Well,
I'll spoil every mechanic I can, but not stories.
we told everybody.
Kills Dumbledore.
Yeah, we told everybody on our forums, Engines forums, they've got a little spoiler tag, and so I've now introduced that to a lot of folks. Said, if you're going to talk about anything spoiler related, please wrap it in a spoiler tag, because some people really want to see this stuff for the first time. So yeah, everybody, we're always talking about community. Building the community up so that we have a great community when we go in a game. Part of that is we don't want to be douchebags and ruin the story for other folks. Stay away from Reddit. Oh, my word. That's probably going to be the biggest place where you're going to get story leaks and people talking about, because they've been leaking everything forever. So we want to make sure that we continue to just be cool and classy.
Yeah, classy is afraid of my rage face.
Entirely. So we don't learn the story for our main when we go in as Smuggler. We didn't even touch Smuggler during the beta.
Yeah.
We went in Troopers.
So with that said, I think we've talked a lot. My throat's sore. I don't know about yours.
Bathroom break.
It's going to be a cool weekend. How many are excited and going to be able to be in the stress test because it's Thanksgiving weekend?
Oh, I'm there.
The
Totally.
Canadians have no problem with that.
Yeah, Thanksgiving is way gone. I'm right there.
So we're going to be in and out where we can, maybe a bit in the evening, but we're moving that weekend, so our time will be limited.
Oh, yeah. And how many are super excited for the game to actually go live? Nobody, I know.
Oh, yeah.
It's a Republican thing.
It is a Republican thing. All right, guys.
It's an elephant stomp.
Remember that this is the TOR Hangout, and this Monday's Hangout is actually going to be, we're only reserving 2 spots, and then it's going to be a free-for-all for everybody to come in so we can get some new blood in here. With this one, when I heard that the NDA was lifted, I said, we got to get it going, and I've got to get some of the folks that have been here since the beginning, and we've been in beta to talk about this. We're going to go ahead and get this on YouTube for folks to pick apart and look at, and just keep sharing stuff. We're not going to pimp our guilds or anything tonight, because I think 3/4 or more of us are redeemed anyway. And
Oh, can I pimp my guild though?
well,
I'm not redeemed.
sure, you can pimp your guild.
But you're not a
Yay.
Republican.
She's an empirocrat.
Meh.
If your tech wants to squeeze in next time, were you going to, or you were just sassing me?
I know. I was waiting for you to finish. I was being polite.
Take a hint from my wife. Just elbow me and go.
Alright, so I am part of the guild Genesis. We're a PvE casual Empire West Coast guild. So many tabs. Our website is genesis-tor.engine.com. And I am also a part of ToroCast, which is at torocast.com. We are the oldest TOR official fan site.
You better get that down. Your boss is gonna get mad at you.
Here, I'll write it down in chat. Genesis-Tor.
I have Phil Collins running through my head now that you said Genesis. You've got to have the invisible touch. Yes, we're old. All right, and we got TORcast in the deal. Anybody else want to say anything?
I'm getting stuck with that song in my head. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
I'm going to go have to listen to Suzanne Vega now.
To it, think of my guild.
It's a Republican mind trick.
It is.
We're Empire.
Also, okay, all right. I'm gonna get. Oh man, I'm. Gary had to post a link. I'm a big fan of R2DB. I'm actually I'm on their one of their librarians to help with the data and stuff. And these guys are fantastic. But there's a couple other sites out there. Torhead was just introduced, so. Be fair, check it out. Come back to R2DB and support them guys because they got some great stuff going on and whatnot.
By the way, did anyone notice you got a little pet during the last week's
yes.
Last week's beta?
Yes.
L2P2.
I didn't get the pet.
You have to look in your bag. It's hidden.
I looked in my bag.
Yeah, it's in your inventory.
I did.
Yeah, L2P2. That's nice. Learn to play new.
Oh, I thought it was a bandage, and I tried to heal myself, or I vendored it.
They took the server down to give us that little bit of choice.
Yeah.
Okay, and with that said, stay tuned. We got some stuff to talk about in Google, and everybody give Georg a high five. All right. Well, we're going to get him on here one night. All right, guys, take care.
Or James Olin. I want James Olin.
We'll get them all on here. We'll get Stephen Reed on here.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Drew Corruption, too.
All right, guys. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out in the chat room. We will see you on Monday.